This program was sponsored by Ford.
But such was Keegan's driving ambition. As a teenager, he found it hard to cope with disappointment.
Doncaster didn't want him. I think that hurt him a lot. The fact that his home crowd didn't want him. But he never talked about that. And we used to sit together on going on away matches, but he would never talk about Doncaster. Funnily enough, if you brought the subject up, it was very quickly changed.
He related to me an instance where he went along with a big squad of other boys on a trial basis and was not accepted. And now that would be a negative experience for people who contemplate losing. He turned that to a winning experience. I mean, it was just it just built a determination into him.
Keegan was sold to Liverpool for £33,000. There he met the formidable Bill Shankly.
We are the best team in England at the moment, and consequently capable of beating anybody.
Good afternoon and welcome to Anfield.
Keegan had strong ideas about his own worth and made it clear he wasn't impressed with the £45 a week Shankly was offering.
Kev said, well, I can earn that at Scunthorpe. He said, that's if we get a win, which we don't do very often. But he said, my dad said, I've got to ask for more than that.
Shankly was a man of passion, of gung-ho up and atom management, which Keegan immediately responded to.
Kevin idolised Bill Shankly, took an awful lot of Shanks' values with him wherever he went. To be fair, most of us that played for that club did do that anyway, but Kevin in particular. And I think he's taken a lot of Shanks' thoughts into his management career.
Ray Clements.
Keegan struck up a prolific partnership with John Toshak. In his first game for Liverpool, he scored after just 12 minutes.
John Wimfield finding himself under pressure here. Peter Thompson keeping at him. The way back cut off, and it's come straight to John Toshak. Got too many friends. That's Keegan. Keegan with a chance, and he has scored. Kevin Keegan has scored. Oh, what a debut for this young man, this 20-year-old who 3 years ago was playing Sunday soccer in Doncaster.
Chipped up in the box, on by Toshak to Keegan, and the old firm have done it. 1-1, and that will be enough.
I'm staying out for the summer, playing games in the rain. The hills and the fortune got me fooled again. You see, I work in a factory, I don't want to be late.
He wanted to do everything at 100 miles an hour. Some people don't take, running at 100 miles an hour to be their asset. You know, you bring the ball down, you look around, you clip a ball here, clip a ball. But Kevin, it was unbelievable.
I think one thing that sums Kevin up as being his own man is that Bob Paisley and Joe Fagan always used to say that when they were talking tactics and how they wanted people to play in the team, if they wanted Kevin to play off the front, they'd tell him to play as far up the front as possible. And if it was vice versa, they would tell him the opposite as well, because Kevin was his own man.
But it was the FA Cup final of 1974, when Liverpool completely outplayed Newcastle, with Keegan scoring twice, that thrust him into the limelight.
It turned him from being a Liverpool star to being a national star and an international star, and suddenly he was a celebrity.
Hey, what do you think you're playing at? Come here.
Watch me!
Nothing coming. Off you go.
I got it.
It's part of the Green Cross Code.
I got it. Hey! I got something that makes me want to shout.
Be smart. Be safe.
Keegan was an ad man's dream. Although capitalising on his fame, he was smart enough to protect his image.
I had an offer, and about 4 months ago, to do a beer advertisement.
and the offer was 6 figures, which, you know, it's over £100,000. But I mean, I didn't even talk with the guy about it, and he threw in at the end. He said, "Mr. Keegan," he said, "I think you're crazy." He said, "We're talking about 6 figures." And I turned around and said, "Yeah, I'm talking about people who rely on me and feel that I promote the sort of things their kids want to be involved with." And I said, beer is certainly not one of them. So beer and cigarettes, really, I wouldn't do. Good workout today, Henry. And after a good workout, nothing beats a great smell of brew. Here, you try the muscle on my act. Yeah, why don't you throw in a towel, Henry? Good.
The sponsors and people, the only person they wanted was Kevin. There was nobody to touch him. You know, he could have done anything.
But the final of '74 was significant for Keegan in other ways too, signalling the start of less welcome media attention and controversy a celebrity can bring.
This is the new Vauxhall Zafira.
Goals pay the rent, and Keegan does his share.
In 1974, Keegan scored twice as Liverpool swept to victory in the FA Cup final. He instantly won worldwide fame, but soon after came notoriety. On England duty in Yugoslavia, he was picked on by police and beaten up in Belgrade. He received a death threat from the IRA when playing for England in Belfast. But most infamously of all, in the Charity Shield, he became the first English player ever to be sent off at Wembley.
Giles, he was niggling away at Kevin, and Kevin's turned round, but Giles, he was quite quick with it, and he's disappeared, and the first person he's met is Bremner, who hadn't been doing anything. So he's hit him. That was just a case of Liverpool and Leeds playing at the time, and all the games in those days against Leeds was like, it was like a Third World War.
You don't get players of his ability and enthusiasm not to blow the head now and again, because he done it in training sessions sometimes, but again, when you're on the touchline, you can see these things going to happen, and you're ahead of them. You try and get ahead of them, but I think at the Wembley one, I think it all shot all at once, and it couldn't be stopped.
After the game, he went home to his family, walked out on the club completely. But Bill Shankly took the trouble to chase him up. I'm not sure whether he called on him or rang him up at home, but he spoke to him at some length and told him that if he was going to really make it the grade, he had got to learn to cope with things like this and get his head together.
Later, Keegan stormed out of the England camp after being dropped by manager Don Revie.
If there's a situation that Kevin believes in, or a certain situation that he feels is right, you know, he's stubborn in that he will do what he feels is right. He'll maybe walk off or go off here. So I think he's a very sort of strong-willed, strong-minded person if he feels that what he's doing or what's happening is right.
All really successful people have this emotional thing, this obvious passion. I see the ingredients for success as being number one, top of the pops, peace of mind, to feeling that I did the right thing. And if it didn't work out, it wasn't because of lack of effort on my part. Kevin Keegan, I think, sleeps at night. I think he has peace of mind. I think he is, in himself, he believes he's a good man.
If Keegan can sometimes be impetuous, paradoxically, and unusually for a footballer, he's always carefully planned his career. In 1977, Liverpool won the ultimate prize, the European Cup. At the height of his career with Liverpool, it was also his last ever game for the club. He'd already announced he was leaving for Germany, and again became embroiled in controversy.
He said he was going to enhance his career. You know, we just won the European Cup, so there's not much more you can do except win the World Cup. But, you know, I think he would have been a little bit more patient with the fans and said, look, I've had a better offer, which he had done, there's no question about it, and I'm getting, you know, double my wages or whatever it is. I think he would have been taken a little bit more to heart, and people would have understood a little bit more.
It's worth remembering that nowadays, when you don't pay more than 40% tax if you're a high earner, things weren't quite the same in those days. Keegan was paying, so according to him anyway, 83% on the bulk of the money he was earning, which doesn't leave you a lot from even a pretty good salary.
Now, I've had a conversation, a very short one, with Kevin about finance. He's not driven by money. And I know that there were people say, oh, we're reading in the paper about how much cash he gets. And sure, he's in a top job, and top jobs pay top dollar. But I think that if the world took some crazy twist and he was offered top dollar to do something that his heart wasn't in, he would turn it down.
Which would explain why, although he's being paid 3 times as much as Glenn Hoddle for doing the England job, he sacrificed a potential £15 million payout from his shares in Fulham. Moving to Hamburg in 1977 offered Keegan the chance to cash in on his enormous earning potential. He became the first English millionaire footballer with estimated earnings of £250,000 a year. But there were no recriminations over money from the Hamburg fans, as former teammate Bernd Wehrmeyer recalls.
His nickname was Mighty Mouse, and I think that's because he was not the tallest, but he was playing like a very big man.
Keegan took Germany by storm, so much so that Doncaster's favourite son was soon being promoted as a pop star.
Kevin Keegan, head over heels in love.
He produced a single. The whole team had to listen to his production, and he took our advice which one he should take, and he sang his song in the TV, and so I think he sold quite a lot of singles.
And it looks like I'm falling all over again. Head over heels in love.
This kind of haircut had everybody in Hamburg. Always men walking around with perms, and they all wanted to be like him, I think.
What shows the popularity of Kevin, that during that time a lot of babies were named Kevin, and Kevin is not the typical German name before.
With his fellow players, though, Keegan turned out to be less popular, his teammates resenting such a superstar in their midst.
They didn't really play with Kevin Keegan. He was just like an alien. There was jealousy in the team and envy, and they didn't want him to look well. You know, that everybody says, "Oh, what a man."
Your own teammates can make it very difficult for you. You know, they won't pass to you, or they eliminate you from movements, and you suddenly, very quickly, in fact, realise that you're being bypassed. And I think it does obviously get you down, and to find out the reasons for it is probably even harder.
Okay, the fact that Kevin Keegan was cut out in the team was a subject in the newspaper every day, because Kevin Keegan had a big name.
In spite of all the speculation, admirably Keegan kept his own counsel. But finally his frustration boiled over when he punched a player during a friendly match. He was suspended for 11 games, and the debate reopened over his temperament and long-term future in Germany.
Kevin was on the ground then, and it couldn't be worse for him, his situation. But I think that was the point of return, because Kevin said, because of his strong character, I don't want to fail here in Hamburg. They must see the real Kevin Keegan before I go home. They must see what Kevin can do on the football field. And I think he was very ambitious then. I'm going to show these people in Germany what I can do with the ball.
Achieving a unique feat for any English player by being voted European Footballer of the Year 2 years in succession. But with Hamburg, the German champions, once more it was time for Keegan to announce he was leaving.
Zum Teil ein ganz komisches Gefühl, dass ich bin an einer Seite sehr glücklich, dass ich gehe zurück auf meine Insel da und spiele nächstes Jahr für Southampton.
He has no real desire just to cash in on a success that the driving force is to reach a goal, a desired outcome. And once he gets there, once he has achieved, he wants a new challenge.
This has taken a tremendous amount of cooperation.
Scorning the chance of a lucrative move to European giants Juventus, to the enormous surprise of the football world, he chose the unlikely challenge of Southampton.
It was a tremendous coup for Laurie to get Kevin to come to, you know, Southampton, who are a small club in Premiership terms.
Kevin come and, I mean, the whole town lit up. I mean, everybody wanted to see Southampton. You couldn't get in the ground. I mean, there was a great atmosphere. Some of the football we played and some of the goals we scored were unbelievable. And we were leading the first division for, you know, round about Easter time.
At Southampton, there was no question of being ostracised by his teammates. Surrounded by friends, Keegan enjoyed 2 successful seasons at the Dell, during which they qualified for Europe.
Oh, that's lovely to Keegan! Beautiful goal. Beautiful goal fashioned by Williams and Keegan.
I judge success by what the teams I play for achieve. And everywhere I've been up to now, we've achieved something. All right, Southampton never won anything. But, you know, when you look at the potential of the town and what we did achieve, to get twice in Europe, ahead of teams like Manchester City, Spurs, Arsenal, and that the first year, and this year other big teams, then, you know, that's success. That's the way you've got to gauge it.
But for Keegan, there was disappointment too. He and Trevor Brooking were injured during the '82 World Cup in Spain. And he unceremoniously left Southampton after falling out with manager Laurie McMenemy.
We're in heaven, we've got Kevin.
Keegan is a man who loves to be loved, and he's loved nowhere more than on Tyneside.
I played against Newcastle at St James's Park, and I know what this area is about, probably more so than any other.
In just 2 years, Keegan led Newcastle back into the First Division before announcing his retirement and making an emotional farewell from the ground.
It's very difficult for me at this moment to speak and say what I really feel, but I thank you very much for the last 2 years.
Kevin packed it in probably because sometime in your career, and I've had it in my career, honestly, when you just do not want to be associated with football. Football is made up of an awful lot of things, good, bad, indifferent, idiots, backstabbers, everybody. And sometime it's happened to me, like I say, where you think, what am I doing? This is affecting me. I really do not want to be part of it.
Newcastle's Messiah took his leave in suitably flamboyant style and headed for heaven, Seventh Heaven, his luxury villa in Spain. Keegan enjoyed a very private life during his 7 years in exile. He played golf, invested in property, and worked on plans for a football theme park. He also spent a lot of time with friends at an exclusive restaurant, a regular hangout for celebrities belonging to singing star Tony Daly.
I'd just like to thank you for a smashing meal, Mr. Daly.
Kevin,
and
you
the
tell
Oak
me...
Island win the World Cup.
Tell me the truth, Kevin. How many times you put the ball past this guy?
Oh, Tony.
I don't know if you can remember.
Many.
I can't. Probably not many, yeah.
I don't think
He used to make him.
I don't think I ever did.
Probably not.
I can honestly say that
There's no job in football I've ever wanted. This is the only job I've ever wanted.
After 7 years in the wilderness, the Geordie Messiah returned as manager to stave off relegation into the 3rd division.
And when he first backed up playing, Kevin said he'd never be a manager. He said he would never like to have 11 players, resting on his future, on their performance. Because once you send them out, there's nothing he can do. But his love of the game, I think, is why he's got wrapped up into it. And then if he gets wrapped up into anything, naturally he wants to reach the top.
This club should be buying players like Gascoigne and Beardsley, not selling them. You've got a nice stand, but this won't look very good in the 3rd division, will it?
A few weeks later, bemused fans gathered at St James's Park after news that Keegan had chosen a familiar form of protest.
Keegan flew the St James's Nest on Saturday night, leaving the club's directors to pick up the pieces.
The situation regarding the manager, as far as we're concerned, he hasn't resigned.
When he came back and made up, having received certain assurances from the board about money for team building, he did characteristically come out with a really pithy phrase when he said, "It's not like the brochure."
On his return, the Geordie Messiah was the answer to the club's prayers, leading them triumphantly into the Premiership. And he showed great courage when selling the club's most prolific scorer, Andy Cole.
Cole's away from Fleming for once. He's got back now. Oh!
Even the Geordie faithful were appalled.
We are no longer a selling club, we are a buying club.
We are, but if a deal comes along whereby I as manager think I can take the club forward again, I've got to be allowed to do that, you know?
Not many managers would have done it. We went down, confronted them. I stood alongside, 10 yards away, just in case. And he was just magnificent. And the fans were very irate at that particular time, I remember. But after about 5 minutes of listening to what he had to say, he had the meeting out of his hands again.
If I make a mess of it, you chant me to go. You know I'm to go. But I understand your problems. Leave it with us.
And they backed him wholeheartedly, and the proof was nearly in the pudding by nearly winning the championship the year after.
It was irresistible. At one stage, they were 12 points clear in the... As the title slipped away, Keegan came under increasing criticism from the press box pundits that his attacking football was cavalier and tactically naive.
Himself up there, two things going wrong, because you can't win football matches alone on sheer passion and enthusiasm. You have to be clever.
People will say that he wasn't a tactician. No, he wasn't one of these managers that he took the defenders to one side and said, oh, we're going to do this today and the forwards are going to go over there and do that, whereas certain managers do that, split the different sections of the team up. He wasn't like that.
There's no restrictions on a player. They can go where they want, and it's up to the other players to fill in. And that's a thing that I really enjoyed once I switched to Newcastle, that everybody could go wherever they wanted, and up to others to fill in when you went.
From being 12 points clear, Newcastle's lead was being whittled away to nothing. The Grey and Keegan came under tremendous pressure as performances deteriorated, particularly after the introduction of Faustino Asprilla.
And he then leaves it for there and they play it back. The people behind can't read that, especially when we go down to 3.
Faustino was probably the best player in the last 2 months of the season. Anyway, there's no saying that, they disrupted the way we were playing and that, but we knew we needed a little push to go and win it. When you've got the quality of players that we had on the pitch on them occasions, Les Ferdinand, David Ginola, Peter Beardsley, you name them. I mean, we had a lot of quality in that, but the majority of them didn't perform like we know they can do, and which they had done in previous months. And there's nothing Kevin or anyone could do about that.
I think it was an attitude. It was more an attitude thing than the fact that the players lost form. I think we was 12 points clear, and the first 3 points we lost, it was instead of it being, oh damn, we've lost 3 points, it was, it's okay, we're still 9 points clear. And, you know, you get into that sort of mode and it was, OK, we're still 6 points clear. They have to win all these games to sort of like catch us up. And eventually it wilted down and, you know, it's history now that Man United overtook us in the end.
Was this a display of players' attitude or, as some suggest, evidence of Keegan's failure under pressure?
Because he doesn't concentrate on the opposition, he doesn't go in for the tactical battles. He wins games by boosting his players up. If he's reacting badly to the pressure, he can't boost his players up the way that he would want to.
Under intense pressure, as the championship slipped from his grasp, he famously appeared to crack. After Alex Ferguson's jibes that teams would play harder against Manchester United to help Newcastle to the title.
We knew something had happened because everyone was talking about it. And I don't know, it's just... The radio come on, and Kevin wasn't on the coach because he got a lift home. And I just couldn't believe it was the same guy because he was so jovial, like 2 minutes previous of going out to do the interview.
I think you've got to send Alex Ferguson a tape of this game, haven't you? Isn't that what he asked for? And we're playing Notts Forest on Thursday, and he objected to that. Now, that was fixed up 4 months ago. We were supposed to play Notts Forest. I mean, that sort of stuff, we're bigger than that. Okay. When you do that with footballers, like he said about Leeds, I've kept really quiet, but I'll tell you something. He went down in my estimation when he said that. We have not resorted to that, but I'll tell you, you can tell him now, if you're watching it, we're still fighting for this title, and he's got to go to Middlesbrough and get something. And I'll tell you, honestly, I will love it if we beat them. Love it.
The players, they couldn't believe it as well. I think it was stunned silence when they heard, when we heard it on the radio.
If a player had done that, people have said, well, you know, he's passionate about his side and he's passionate about what's been going on. Because a manager does that, you know, people see it as him probably wilting, and, you know, at the time they were saying that Alex Ferguson has won the mind game and stuff, but I don't think it was that. I just think it was, he cared, and he cared a hell of a lot, and, you know, he showed it.
The next season brought the world record signing of Alan Shearer, but Keegan was soon voicing fears in private that he had nothing left to offer.
We were starting to get negative vibes, and maybe because of the results, you know, weren't as good as what they were the year before. But once Kevin makes a decision and makes up his mind on something, that's normally the end of it.
But what sparked Keegan's unexpected departure was the Newcastle board's decision to float the club on the stock market.
They lost the best manager they ever had because they didn't take him with them. He was left to run the football side with more interference on the one hand by being encouraged to sell players because of the need to get things well organised before they floated, and on the other, people were less accessible to him. And I think they could have handled the situation much better by explaining to him, you are an employee, but you are the most important employee in the company, and we want to show our commitment to you. I don't think they ever said that.
Though at the last press conference before his shock resignation, the pressure had clearly told.
The timing of Keegan's departure was appalling, and the way it was handled was appalling. I think he deserved better, bearing in mind what he did for Newcastle United. But Kevin Keegan himself said that he couldn't motivate the Newcastle players anymore, and there's no doubt in the long term that his time on Tyneside was
Healthy club, Fulham, to the First Division. But he'd no sooner achieved this when the looming England job reignited controversy.
I think Kevin Keegan handled the leaving of Fulham appallingly. He behaved like a flirt. I was going to say a tart, but I think he certainly didn't behave in a sort of authoritative, straight up and down sort of way, which is, and the extraordinary thing is that this was so unusual, because normally he is a straight dealer.
But could he not delay the decision until Monday to let us have our celebration? And then
you're definitely spoiling our celebration.
Gillingham game, we got our promotion. You said,
I'll fulfil my contract. I'll be here to the end. There'll be nothing that will diminish my role at Fulham.
That's before I took my second game with England and just got the bug, I suppose. And I'm not going to make any apologies for that because, you know, I think it would be far, far worse if I said nothing tonight, didn't come on the show, and just disappeared on Monday. And then you would say, well, what a way to do that's not right either. I've been up front, I've been honest, as I always hope to be with you. You know, everyone's got a right to change their mind. And you know, football is an emotional game. And if it is for you people as fans, please don't think we're any different.
It's difficult to see how he could have handled it better, allowing for the nature of the man, because he does say things as they are. So if that's a fault, then so be it.
So 4 out of 10, absolute maximum for that episode from Kevin.
So the nation have got what they want. But what does Kevin Keegan's past experience tell us about his future prospects as England manager? Could his emotion and passion, the biggest attributes Keegan brings to the England job, ultimately be his undoing?
He lays his emotions out for everybody to see. It's been the same since he came out as England manager, and it was the same at Fulham as well. He puts all his emotions on the table, and people pick what they want from them, and it means it's very difficult for him to go on as the same person after that.
I really think it's a good thing that we have somebody that is so obviously passionate and concerned with the future of our game. That's a quality that every manager must have.
But could his Newcastle experience suggest passion is as much of a negative as a positive attribute?
Somewhere down the line there will be bad results, and it's difficult, having seen Kevin at first hand, to think that he will have changed, that he won't be single-minded or bloody-minded, if you like, in the belief that he has of doing it his way. And his style of management will be such that he won't be able to take the team any further. The grief will come his way, and you'll see Kevin reverting to type as he did towards the end of his time on Tyneside.
Now, he keeps saying in every interview that he's done with England, I know what the pressures are, and I'm ready for it, and I know that I'm going to get criticised. Now, it's all very well saying that, but when it actually comes to it, when they get the big headlines, you know, the kind of headlines that previous managers have had, you know, go home, get lost, you know, that kind of thing, then I think we'll see him react a bit differently then.
I think within 18 months, like every other England manager, you'll be on the back page of The Sun as a vegetable.
Yeah, they asked me what vegetable I'd like to be, you know.
As player and manager, he's shown momentary fits of pique when he's not got his own way. He could walk out if he feels he's being unfairly criticised.
Kevin loves football, same as Graham. Graham loves football. And because they love football, they know that other people have different ideas. They're prepared to accept them. It's when they get nasty that people like Kevin doesn't get upset. But if people get nasty with him too often, he'll say, I'm off.
Well, I think Kevin is one of those that, all right, people have said, well, he could just walk out on it, and, well, he could, but, I mean, you know, again, it's something that Kevin wouldn't want to do it at a crucial time.
I don't think he'll walk. I've seen him roll up his sleeves quite a few times when I played with him, and, he took the media to task, and he's gone all the way.
Just as he walked away from football and went and spent 7 years in Spain playing golf, so he's just as likely to walk away again, in my view, if things aren't going his way.
But more optimistically, in Germany, he confronted the problems of his teammates' jealousy and rose to the challenge. Stubborn determination is what is needed now to take England on, especially in Sofia tomorrow night. The timing is right for a messiah, and Keegan is shrewd enough to know this.
Don't be surprised if you see England in a World Cup final, because that's what he'll be aiming for. There's no question about that. He won't be wanting to get to a quarter-final or a semi-final. He'll be wanting to get to the final and win it. And who's going to bet against him? I wouldn't.
We've got young players to burn at the moment. It's acknowledged by experts all over the world that between the ages of 18 and 25, England have the best players in the world. So the manager who reaps that at full national level is going to be a very, very lucky boy, a knight, probably a peer, and maybe even the first president of the Republic. I mean, it is going to be a very, very exciting phase. And I think Keegan, I've got reason to believe, that Keegan wants to be around to be that man.
And you can see whether Keegan's England lads come good against Bulgaria, live and exclusive on 5 tomorrow night from 5:10. Meanwhile, we return you to this pop classic.